Jen Baker and Lauren Vraets. Jen is the general manager of the Hamilton Naturalist Club, and Lauren is the senior project manager of community engagement in the communications and community engagement division for the city of Hamilton. So they'll be talking about the biodiversity action plan. Thank you.
And hi, everybody. So as Kasia said, I'm Jen Baker with the Hamilton Naturalist Club. Really excited to talk to you about the Biodiversity Action Plan, give you an update about what it is if you haven't heard too much about it, and then the really exciting thing about what we've done in the first year of BAP implementation. Oh, I did that. Oh, sorry, guys. What should leave it to me to be the one. Okay. I'm here tonight sharing the presentation with Lauren Vraets from the City of Hamilton, and we are two partners in the Biodiversity Action Plan. There's a QR code here that will go directly to the Biodiversity Action Plan if you want to read it for yourself, and if you haven't had a chance to see it yet. And just a couple of things. So my big take-home message for everybody is that the BAP is a collaborative initiative. So the Hamilton Naturalist Club and the City of Hamilton are two of the partners, and I'll go through who some of the other partners are in a minute. And we are all working together on this plan that's aiming to protect and restore biodiversity across Hamilton. And again, collaboratively. That's the big word of the night. So here are our partners, and sorry, I don't know how to get rid of the top line, but here are our partners. So we're super excited that we've had all of these partners working with us for a number of years to develop the BAP, and then we've had even more partners sign on in the last year as we've been in the more fun implementation phase of the Biodiversity Action Plan. And this is just like a snapshot in time. So we anticipate that there will be even more people signing on, people and partners and organizations signing on to be part of the Biodiversity Action Plan as we get more and more and more into the implementation. So all of these partners, and I know there's some individuals as well, have contributed time in the development of the BAP and now the implementation of the actions that Lauren will talk about in a minute. So, we couldn't do this without all of us working together. So here are some of us, and all of us that are here tonight, we all work together. So we're all like sharing our expertise and collaborating on actions and things like that. So that's why it's really exciting to be here tonight. And for those of you who aren't as familiar, what is the Biodiversity Action Plan? So again, there's that word, it's collaborative across multiple organizations that develop the BAP. It was approved by everybody's board and council in June 2024. And since then, we've been working on implementation. It's action, so focused on the action part of the plan for the next 5 years. And then, we'll work on developing the next BAP over that time. Within it, we thought it was really important to highlight a lot of the success stories to show that we've already been doing a lot of work to protect and restore biodiversity in Hamilton. So that is reflected throughout the BAP. And we identified 4 major threats to biodiversity in and around Hamilton. So climate change, invasive species, pollution, and habitat fragmentation and alteration. So then when we were looking at how do we address the BAP, or how do we address these threats, we looked at 4 goals to work to address the threats. So protect, explore, connect, and restore. And then just to keep, there's lots of actions. So to keep all of those organized, we organized the actions into 7 key priorities that then address the goals. So now Lauren is going to give you a bit more information about the BAP itself.
Great, thanks, Jen. So on this slide here, you'll see the vision statement that we have for the Biodiversity Action Plan. So the vision is a Hamilton that is resilient to climate change, celebrates nature, and provides a healthy environment for all life. And this vision statement that we had prepared was actually part of our consultation that was done on the Biodiversity Action Plan in 2023 across the different partner organizations and with the public. And there was agreement that the vision statement that we had prepared originally, this one that you see on the screen, that it was appropriate to continue to lead the plan for the partner agencies and Hamiltonians generally. We think that there's a lot to celebrate in Hamilton in terms of our biodiversity, and that we are not just looking at biodiversity protection for ourselves, but it's also for humans, but it's also for every other life form that calls Hamilton home. So we continue to remind ourselves of this vision, and it is woven throughout the whole of the document. Next slide, please. So as Jen mentioned, we do have 4 goals here for the Biodiversity Action Plan: protect, explore, connect, and restore. And they're the overarching themes of the document that have guided the development of the Biodiversity Action Plan and its priorities, its key priorities. So protect is we're incorporating the best practices to protect natural areas and green spaces in policy and guidelines, land management plans, and identifying funding strategies that support the protection and enhancement of the natural environment. Under the explore category, we have, this was our bucket that we used, that we didn't want to use the word educate, but essentially this is a lot of the education actions that are in there. And this is, but we explore sounded, it rhymed with restore, so we went with it. The explore category, we're looking at education and exchanging information, not just between different agencies, but also the public broadly about biodiversity. So we're looking at partnerships, community science, and broader outreach into the public. And then the connect goal that we have here is to have our partner policies in alignment, and that includes processes for how we could go out and collect data, how we store data, how we share it, and try to bring our workflows from all the different partner agencies into alignment so that all of our efforts are streamlined. And then finally, under restore, we want to make sure that we're restoring biodiversity across all of Hamilton by implementing nature-based stewardship activities on public and private land wherever possible. Next slide. So this slide here outlines the 7 key priorities that Jen had mentioned. And like Jen mentioned, they help organize. We have many different actions in the plan, and we had our 4 goals, but even then we need to break them down a bit further into work programs. And so these are the 7 different key priorities that you see in the plan. And so the first one is key priority 1, administration and governance. And while that sounds kind of boring, it actually is a lot of the basis of the work that we've been doing recently, because it does make sure that we're all working together as a functioning, almost like a little mini organization of agencies. So the objective there is to develop a governance framework and funding strategy to ensure the effective and coordinated implementation of the Biodiversity Action Plan partners' actions over the long term. Then key priority 2 is evaluating and monitoring, and the objective there is to understand the current baseline state of Hamilton's biodiversity to inform future monitoring and priorities. Key priority 3 is long-term protection and connection, and the objective there is to protect, restore, and enhance natural areas within Hamilton to support biodiversity, establish and enhance core areas, connect fragmented habitats, and enhance ecosystem functions. Then key priority 4, we have education and stewardship, and the objective here is to enhance public awareness of the importance of biodiversity and engage them in stewardship actions through the partner agencies. Key priority 5 is coordinated invasive species management. And you wouldn't believe how much this comes up in a lot of our discussions, because man, it's a big one. The objective here is to protect Hamilton's biodiversity by implementing coordinated citywide efforts to manage invasive species. And that is a big one because they don't care. Invasive species don't care who you are and what you've done, and they're just going to go wherever they want. So that's a big coordinated one. Key priority 6 is aquatic habitat restoration and enhancement, and the objective in this key priority is to enhance local aquatic habitats through sustainable stormwater management practices and restoration of degraded watercourses, water bodies, and wetlands. And finally, key priority 7 is local decision making, and the objective here is to ensure that impacts on or improvements to local biodiversity are clearly considered in all municipal decision making related to development or use of urban and rural land. So that was a bit of a lot. So just on the next slide, Jen, if you want to flip to that this is just one snapshot of one page of the biodiversity action plan in the later part of the plan. So further on in the document, and this is really the part that all of the partner agencies are looking at and building our work plans off of now. So we have here that the actions, they're listed under the key priorities. They're developed to be tangible and reasonably initiated. Initiated is a keyword within the next 5 years. And we know that not all of them will be completed in 5 years, but we need to at least be starting progress on every one of the actions that's in that plan. There are timeframes associated with each action. That's the second column there. And the column has immediate actions, so 0 to 1 year, midterm actions that are 1 to 3 years, and long-term actions that are 3 to 5 years. And this is the implementation timeframe from the time that the plan was endorsed by all the boards or council of the agencies that were involved. And so we know that timelines can sometimes be dynamic in nature. So there may be need to adjust the project's timelines over as things evolve and collaboration occurs, but we are going to try our best to stick to these timeframes that are in the plan. And finally, in the two last columns, I guess so these would be the far right columns, we have a lead and supporting for a lead and supporting partner for each of the actions. So the lead is really in charge of that work plan component of it and taking the action from an idea to implementation. And the supporting partners, though, they're kind of how you're going to get there, because you can't, as we've all learned, we can't do this alone, and it takes coordination. And so we know that the partners that are out there in community, they want to help. And so this is the supporting partners. And in the document, we don't have all of these columns filled for the supporting partners, but as the work plans progress, it's organic that partners will come together to help implement these. So I'll pass it over to Jen now, and who's going to talk about what happened in year 1.
So I get the fun part to share. Collectively, we have protected land, and the best way to make sure land is protected is to, own it. So buy it or have it donated. So that's happened. The biological inventories, or the natural areas inventory, is underway, and you'll hear Kasia talk about that in a few minutes. Lots of stewardship activities. So as Lauren mentioned, the invasives, it's ongoing and forever. So there's always lots of invasives work. We've done tree plantings. We had the free tree giveaway. They gave away 5,000 trees last year, and the giveaway for this year starts at the end of this month. So if you're interested in getting a tree, go to the city's website. Lots of stormwater management projects, which are really exciting. So small to large projects. So looking at doing what we can to manage the water where it falls, like today, and to take care of that. So that's exciting that more and more of that is happening in our community. Tons of community engagement. We can't do this alone. We need all of us to work together to do what we can to protect and restore biodiversity, which then goes to projects with private landowners that Jeff will talk about in a few minutes about what the Watershed Stewardship Program can do. We're very excited about the green building standards being passed and being implemented. And the Watershed Action Plan that you'll be hearing about from Mike also in a few minutes. So this is a good night to hear about all kinds of really great things that are happening in Hamilton. There are a number of different awards programs to celebrate work that's being done, because there is a lot of great work, and I think that should be recognized and celebrated. So we are lucky that lots of that is happening. In small and large ways to celebrate all of our efforts. We have 5 new staff for the city to work on the city's BAP actions that was approved in the most recent budget. So we'll be able to introduce you to new staff over the next few months. And then, as Lauren mentioned, the governance structure. So we do all have to figure out how we're all going to work together in this new committee, new group of partners. So we have developed a terms of reference to kind of guide all of that. So that's kind of the, what all of us collaboratively have worked on. And then, I mentioned that it's going to take all of us to undertake things during our day jobs, if we're fortunate enough to have it as our day job, as well as after work, to look at what can we do to help. And all actions contribute to biodiversity protection. So everything is important and everything needs to be done. So if there's something you're already doing, keep doing it. But maybe you're interested in doing something else. So these suggested community actions, to give you ideas about how maybe you might want to be involved, they're in the BAP. And you can also reach out to any of us, and we're happy to have volunteers helping out with stuff, and we can point you in the right direction as well. But maybe I'll just mention a couple of them. Here's an easy one: to just not release live aquatic plants and animals into our waterways. So that's kind of an easy one to not do. Lauren mentioned the planning process with key priority 7. So if you're interested, if you have ideas or comments or things that you're hearing about with maybe policies that are coming up or policies that are happening right now, it's great to hear from you and to share your thoughts and your comments. So letting your counselor know, or if there's an official comment period, commenting on that. Letting friends and family know what you've learned tonight, and like, hey, different things are needed to help Hamilton's biodiversities, because they might want to get involved as well and they just don't know. Kasia will talk about using iNaturalist, so and she'll talk about that. But you can add to our knowledge about our biodiversity when you're out in nature. So all of these things are helping, and that kind of makes the collaboration even bigger to all of us. And then, spring theoretically is here. So more and more and more events are going to be coming up. So we'll have like the tree plantings and the garbage cleanups and the ongoing invasives management, and all of those things are coming up. So you can, welcome to participate in any of those, and you can contact any of our organizations to kind of find out what's happening with that. And then now I'm going to pass it back to Lauren to talk about a couple of exciting events that are coming up.
Great, thanks, Jen. So just a few things that are coming up this year, I think just immediately in the next couple days. So which is obviously not an exhaustive list of things that are happening in community for those who are interested, but very fun event on April 4th is the Environmentalist of the Year Awards, and that's being hosted at McMaster University. And you can check out the awards webpage that's listed on the website there. It's being organized through Nature at McMaster, so there is registration available online. For that, it's an in-person event though, and it should be pretty fun. That's this Friday. And then on Saturday, on April 5th, the Conservation Halton and Hamilton Watershed Stewardship Program are organizing a native landscape workshop. So that's intended for people to come and design and implement low maintenance, low impact development on their lawns, right? So a native plant gardening, mini forests, and have a little takeaway at the end to help inspire you with your own garden at home, if you have one. And the contact information is through Hamilton Conservation Authority. So it's Cherish Gamble at Conservation Hamilton. So there are lots of things coming up in community, though, in the month of April. There are lots of cleanup events that communities are organizing, and again, tree planting events. Stay tuned to Hamilton Naturalist Club for all the events on their calendar. And I will say that we are trying to coordinate a calendar with all of the different events that are associated with the BAP in some place, but stay tuned for that, and we'll share updates through our mailing list. And next slide, Jen. And that's it. So we just wanted to thank you for listening about the Biodiversity Action Plan. It's a really exciting plan for all of us because we have been working on it for a while to get it implemented. And we know that just as nature is always changing and evolving, we know that the plan is, it's like Jen said, it's a snapshot in time. It will also have to evolve. So we're going to look at updating it in 5 years. So there will be a chance to inform that as we go through that process. Who knows what the biodiversity action plan will look like in 5 years from now? We don't know. But right now we just really want to make sure that we're focusing on the celebration of the fact that we have this plan, that partner organizations are working together, and there is a lot of alignment and sharing and collaboration between everyone who's made this possible. So I think with that, I think we'll close our part of the presentation and maybe look to the comments, Q&A, if there's any questions there.
Yeah, so 3 comments or questions have come in, and oh, my video's not playing yet. There we go. So I'm not sure if maybe these are the kinds of questions that a number of us comment on. I don't know if it would be exactly Jen and Lauren that would address answers to these questions, but if you see them there, we have the biggest immediate local threat to biodiversity's development on various rural lands, both on the airport employment growth district and various privately initiated boundary expansions. How does the BAP counter these threats? As the first question that came in.
Okay, so I'll start and just preface with that I'm not in planning and economic development. I'm not involved in the urban boundary expansion reviews. But I will say that there is a report that is publicly available on the city's webpage under the April 8th Planning Committee agenda. And that does have the staff report that outlines the framework for that staff will be using for evaluating urban boundary expansion applications. So that is a staff report with recommendations. There's a lot of appendices with that report. I will say that if you look to Appendix F, I believe, that is about the sub-watershed study that would be required with any application. Now, I will say that the intake of applications for urban boundary expansion is not something that we can, it is provincially permitted through policy that that private landowners are able to apply for urban boundary expansion. I don't want to get too much into it because it's not my work program, but I will say that the report should have some answers for you about the criteria that would be looked at if an application were to come in. So if you look at the agenda for April 8th, there is some information there. And I will say also that the Biodiversity Action Plan is a council endorsed plan. There are commitments in there in terms of work plan priorities, in terms of policy review that the city has committed to. And I believe that as we move through processes like we described with the urban boundary expansion applications, other development applications, it will become more common to see reference to the Biodiversity Action Plan and the city's commitments in there in reports and potentially delegations and staff presentations related to those. So can't give a complete answer on that now, but I would point you to that resource as a first start.
Okay, thanks so much, Lauren, and thanks, Dawn, for that question. We have a few other questions coming in, but I think we're kind of behind it by a few minutes, so we'll try to answer some of those within the actual Q&A function, and we'll move on to our next presentation for now, which is myself. Hi, everyone. If you're just joining us, my name is Kasia Zgurzynski. I'm the Natural Areas Inventory Coordinator working out of Hamilton Conservation Authority. And I'm also hosting this, so I will remind everyone, because I see we have a few new people coming in, that it is being recorded as well. Yeah, so I will share my screen here. Good. So Nature Counts 3. is the natural areas inventory that is underway now as of last year. If you're unfamiliar with what a natural areas inventory is, it basically involves surveying natural areas, and they can be as large as conservation areas, like as large as Dundas Valley, or as small as urban woodlots, minimum size being that we're looking at being about half a hectare, because that falls into some of our ecological land classification criteria. Going into these areas, what we look at is the habitat, the plants, the wildlife. So trying to take an inventory of what's living there. And this information is then used for conservation and restoration purposes. There's been an NAI approximately every 10 years since about 1993. And for this NAI in particular, we started field work last year in 2024, and that component is expected to be finished during the field season of 2026. And then we'll have a final report coming out likely in 2027. As Jen and Lauren were mentioning about the strong collaborative aspect of the BAP, the NAI is also very much a collaborative project. The main partners are the Hamilton Conservation Authority, the City of Hamilton, and the Hamilton Naturalist Club. And we have a number of supporting partners as well, including Royal Botanical Gardens, McMaster, Grand River Conservation Authority, Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority, and Conservation Halton. And the NAI is a action that is outlined in the Biodiversity Action Plan. So that's sort of what started this NAI to begin with, is that development of the Biodiversity Action Plan, and that being one of the prioritized actions. So Hamilton is a special place. It's in two ecoregions. Ecoregion 6E, which is the Lake Simcoe Rideau region, and ecoregion 7E, which is the Lake Erie, Lake Ontario, or Carolinian ecoregion. So because this area is sort of at the northern range of a lot of species and at the southern range of a lot of other species, the biodiversity here is exceptionally high. And it's facing looming threats, as we all recognize here, I'm sure, such as invasive species, habitat loss, and climate change. The goals with this NAI in particular are to identify some of these significant natural areas that we can then protect, identifying threats to biodiversity and restoration opportunities across the city. So the NAI, we're aiming to really use this information to directly inform our restoration practices, engaging the public in biodiversity monitoring, which I'll get into a little bit more. Indigenous outreach, so we're at least providing information to Indigenous communities about the NAI, and we're inviting engagement. So, so that's sort of like the foundation of that Indigenous outreach. We can't necessarily expect that it'll be collaborative, but we're putting that information out there for folks. We're contributing to policy and mapping amendments for conservation purposes. So, for example, the natural heritage policy being updated and the natural asset management plan being put forward. We're contributing to that kind of policy through the City of Hamilton. So where past NAIs have gathered a lot of the data from the field with professionals, biologists, this NAI has a much larger focus on public participation, and there's already been a lot of data coming in through iNaturalist. And if you're unfamiliar with iNaturalist, it's basically an app or a website that's free, it's simple to use to identify and document species, and then once those species are sort of confirmed, then that can be better used by scientists to understand the distribution of them. So field work for the 2024 season was targeting 26 urban woodlots, and these woodlots we found were often the remnants of habitat that used to cover the landscape, and they can contain very interesting and sometimes rare species. For example, this blue ash that I found in an urban woodlot in Hamilton, and if you're unfamiliar with blue ash, it's quite a rare species. It's only found typically in a few areas within Ontario. it's a species at risk, and it was a surprise to find it in this urban woodlot. So I don't know exactly how it got there, but it was an interesting find. And of course, these areas are facing strong threats from being so isolated within the city like that. The upcoming field work for this field season is looking at more ecological land classification of different natural areas, aquatic systems. So aquatic systems were identified as a data gap from the previous NAIs, and we're looking to explore those more deeply, especially where we're data deficient. We've put together a number of grant project applications, and that most of those involve a stewardship component as well as a surveying component. So the surveying directly feeds into the stewardship, such as native planting and invasive removal and things like that. And we're also to engage the public. We'll be having kind of BioBlitz style events where we'll have a professional teach folks how to identify certain types of organisms, and then we'll have a practice session on the site where we're meeting. And then we equip people with the tools to use iNaturalist to continue with their identification of those types of organisms. So yeah, hopefully it's like a BioBlitz, but at the same time, it's the intention is to, keep going after the event and continue to find those species throughout Hamilton. So with that public participation, we are looking to access private properties. So in some cases, there's natural areas that are undocumented, and we want to try to get to as many of those as possible within this short time frame. If folks are interested, you're welcome to download iNaturalist, and then you can identify local species you see. And if you want to be contributing to the NAI, then we ask that you join the Hamilton Natural Areas Inventory Project. And then you have an option to share with us any kinds of otherwise obscured species. So any rare species you might see will be shared just with the administrators of that project. So on iNaturalist, all you really need to do is you identify who you are in that you make an iNaturalist account. And yeah, they ask that you only post your own observations on there. So you want to put up what you saw. It can be very vague. If you're unfamiliar with identifying species, it can be very vague, such as a butterfly, or it can be more specific, such as the monarch butterfly. And then other people in that iNaturalist community can chime in and get a little bit more detailed if you only have a vague identification. You want to know where you saw it. So if you have, a lot of our phones will geotag our photos anyway, so sometimes it comes up automatically, but identifying where you saw it, when you saw it, so the date of that encounter, and evidence, so basically photo or a sound clip if it's a bird or a frog or something like that. Now, iNaturalist isn't the only resource that you can use and that we're using. So there's also Seek, which is the same company as iNaturalist, but they sort of gamify the experience a little bit more. It's a little bit more simple. There's the app, if you're interested in plant identification, there's the app Ontario Wildflowers, and that's that trillium symbol up there. And that kind of lets you, get a little bit more. You answer certain questions about, what does the flower look like? What types of leaves are there? And it can narrow down what species you're looking at. There's also GoBotany. GoBotany has a great key feature where you can go through like a dichotomous key kind of thing where you're answering, it's either, the plant either has, a blue flower or a red flower or something like that. But if there's terminology there that might be a little bit specific to botany, then they often will have definitions of those terms so that it makes it really user friendly. There's also the Nature Watch program. Nature Watch, they've been around for a while, and they have a number of different programs under their umbrella, including things like Ice Watch for climate change, and Frog Watch is one of my favorites. So if you go into that Frog Watch program, you're able to, hear a lot of the calls of the frogs that are local to you and learn how to identify them. For birds, there's Merlin or eBird. So where Merlin is great for identification of species, and then eBird will help to identify those species or to document where they were located. There's also Bug Guide, which is a really fun one. So unlike iNaturalist, on iNaturalist, pretty much anyone can confirm a species. On Bug Guide, they have sort of like a list of administrators that can confirm or identify species. So it's a little bit more vetted. And I find it's really well maintained, that one. And a lot of this information then goes into the Global Biodiversity Information Facility, GBIF. And GBIF is basically, a website where you're able to ask where a species is, put in a species and then see its distribution throughout the world according to a lot of this data that comes in. It's sort of like a hub for a lot of it. And of course, there's good old-fashioned field guides. And I will say that even for submitting data for the NAI, we are also accepting, observations more manually, if it's like a field sheet or if it's, collections that you've done over time to inform basically since the last NAI, which was in 2013, 2014. Yeah, so there's lots of great field guides out there depending on the kinds of species that you're interested in focusing on. So thank you very much. Here's some of my contact information. And there is a NAI website. It's just at conservationhamilton.ca/NAI. So there's some more information there and some quick links. And then especially if you want to link to that iNaturalist project. And then if you follow HCA on social media, we will be releasing different kinds of NAI event notifications over time. So you'll be able to keep up with some of those. Okay. I'll just take a quick look. Okay. Good. I don't see any questions directed at me, but I'll take a closer look at that. And I as well will, I'm not sharing my screen anymore, right? And I will hand it off to Mike Christie for the next presentation. Mike Christie is the Senior Project Manager of Watershed Management with Hamilton Water in the city of Hamilton. And he'll be talking about the Watershed Action Plan. So thank you very much.
Hi, everyone. You can hear me okay?
We hear you well.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming this evening. My name is Mike Christie, and I work for the City of Hamilton and Hamilton Water. And very happy to be here today to provide a kind of a quick outline on the city's Watershed Action Plan that was approved by City Council in late 2024. So first I wanted to share some of the past work the city, along with our federal and provincial partners, have recently completed under Hamilton's Clean Harbor program. Over $530 million has, recently been completed or invested, by all three levels of government to support the reduction of what we call point source pollution to the harbor, meaning, pollution that comes from a single identifiable source, like our wastewater treatment plant or at a factory or industrial use. You can see some of the bigger projects up on the screen here. One of the most notable is the Woodward wastewater treatment plant upgrades that is now contributing a lot less phosphorus, nitrogen, and sediment to the local environment and really improving the local ecology in the area, ultimately improving conditions in Red Hill Creek and Hamilton Harbor. I'll just flip through a few of these Clean Harbor projects now. The Randall Reef Engineered Containment Facility. This project is cleaning up some of the most historically contaminated sediment in Canada. Primarily a federal project, but the city and the province are also providing support. And really this project created a large, almost 15-acre waterproof container essentially in the harbor, isolated from the water around it and transferring the sediment to inside this facility, capping it, and will ultimately serve as a new port within the Hamilton Oshawa Port Authority. Our combined sewer overflow network. 9 large wastewater storage tanks were added to our combined sewer network over the last decades, providing about 314 million liters of additional storage during intense rainstorms, just like probably the weather we're experiencing tonight here in Hamilton. The Waterdown wastewater treatment plant decommissioning project, which supported removing wastewater flows from Grindstone Creek, cold water fishery, and our real-time control program, which is really trying to optimize our combined sewer system during wet weather. It automatically controls various sensors and gates and weirs, really to get the most out of our sewer system and reduce water quality impacts to Hamilton Harbor. So here's a picture of our new wastewater treatment plant outfall at the Woodward wastewater treatment plant. And this was as a result of the upgrades at the plant, which is discharging our highly treated wastewater to Red Hill Creek. And you can see where the water flows into Red Hill Creek and the difference in turbidity, really the amount of suspended sediment in the water between the wastewater between the wastewater effluent and the creek there. And we've seen and tested a considerable improvement in water quality in the area. So really, what I want to try and get across here is now with all of these investments to tackle point source pollution, for the first time in about 100 years, the new primary source of nutrient pollution to the harbor is now coming from watershed runoff or non-point sources. What I mean by that is pollution really coming from a variety of sources scattered throughout the city, places like city streets, construction sites, fertilizer use from urban and rural areas. Intense storms and how we develop our land and manage our land can put pressure on our infrastructure and the natural environment, as we know. So we're now looking at a wider variety of initiatives to make more progress on reducing these non-point sources of pollution. So enter in the Watershed Action Plan. So to address these non-point sources of nutrient pollution, last year Hamilton Water staff presented the Watershed Action Plan to City Council, really focusing in on the actions of what we can do with, what is within the care and control of the city to help make improvements to this. Similar to other presentations you've seen today, the plan was highly collaborative and engaged key partners from the Hamilton Harbor Remedial Action Plan, local conservation authorities, academia, and a lot of public engagement, both virtually and in person, really to try and make sure that these actions would be impactful. Right now, myself and 2 other colleagues in Hamilton Water are really focusing on the first top 10 actions that really resulted from all that consultation. And we're going to be focusing on those top 10 actions over the next few years with more actions implemented over time. And I'll get into that top 10 list in a couple of slides. First, wanted to kind of give you some more broad strokes around the action plan itself. There's 5 overall objectives of the plan. Really, all of them will support biodiversity in some shape or form, given that improved water quality improves habitat and ecological balance, a lot of other things. So objective 1 relates to the reduction of pollution to our receiving waters through improved stormwater management. Objective 2 relates to infrastructure and operational improvements for things like our combined sewer overflow tank network and our combined sewer system. Objective 3 has to do with education and outreach, engaging the public through social media, events like this, but also we're just in the initial stages of exploring incentives to help private landowners improve their own property to reduce these sorts of nutrient pollution risks. Objective 4 deals with regulatory and policy development, looking at our own policies for protecting natural assets. That I think was a question that kind of came up. That's another goal of the Biodiversity Action Plan, is looking at our policies itself as a city and what we can do to enhance those policies to protect those natural assets. And objective 5, which is the most relevant to our event this evening. Obviously, objective 5 is biodiversity and habitat enhancement. And you can see just some of the reasons why water quality is crucial for protecting and enhancing our biodiversity. Everything from, supporting habitat to maintaining food webs. As we all know, these things are interconnected. So all in all, we've identified 91 different actions in the Watershed Action Plan. 55 have been funded or were historically funded, meaning that they've been approved and resourced by City Council. And we have 36 pending actions that'll require more resources, council approval, those sorts of exercises as city staff. Some examples of some funded actions that are part of the plan, things like integration of citywide natural asset management into our overall asset management practice as a city. We're currently in the process of inventorying all of our natural assets, things like wetlands, watercourses, water bodies, aquifers, woodlots, you name it. And really so we can eventually understand the cost and benefit and be better accounted for really in our decision-making process. Enhancing our inventory and repair of stormwater management facilities, investigating opportunities to increase urban canopy throughout the city. And that's another shared action with the Biodiversity Action Plan and the Urban Forest Strategy. We want to enhance our real-time overflow monitoring and public reporting and greater inspection of erosion and sediment control sites to make sure they're installed in accordance with an approved grading plan, those basic things. So those things are already funded. These things have been kind of given initial funding for study and for further implementation that we'll be working on as a staff group. So number one, through collaboration with conservation authorities, a city wants to better implement, present, and share best management practices to reduce phosphorus and sediment runoff in the rural area. As we know, conservation authorities have great relationships through their stewardship programs, and we want to kind of look at exploring some opportunities there. We're looking at our salt management plan. We already have one as a city, but we're looking at it with more of a water quality lens and apply, wherever we apply salt across city infrastructure. Developing and implementing a business case for a stormwater monitoring and enforcement program. And this would really ensure that private stormwater facilities that are releasing water to the natural environment or to city infrastructure are functioning as they should and discharging stormwater that's in compliance with our sewer use bylaw. Number four, investigating opportunities to reduce phosphorus inputs within the Desjardins Canal in Dundas. And that's right near our Dundas wastewater treatment plant. And we're in conversations with RBG on what they would want to see in terms of best practice there. Number five, reviewing the inventory of watercourse erosion sites and prioritizing remedial actions at these sites. And we have luckily a new program, a new staffing group in engineering services that's going to be exclusively focused on capital repair of watercourses. And we're very excited about that program. Number six, strengthening the snow management plan by, again, putting more of a water quality lens when managing snow across the city. There's some initial planning around a new urban snow dump area within a city works yard. And if it is constructed, will help support some actions that can really help with water quality improvements downstream of that facility. We're looking at strengthening our catch basin program with the use of, improved sediment capture technologies and increasing the frequency of our cleanouts in critical areas, especially when they're going to a sensitive watercourse. Developing, reviewing, and improving policies to, again, protect natural assets. We talked about that already. Looking at our street sweeping program, again, looking at critical areas and where there may be more nutrient inputs in those areas to sensitive watercourses. And then a large one that's gaining a lot of momentum citywide is how are we doing low impact development and installing things like rain gardens, infiltration galleries, swales in priority areas. So we're currently looking at that now as a city. You can imagine with different folks responsible for, things like flowers in the right of way or plants in the right of way, we're going to be using some of those staff, or at least looking to look at things like bioretention facilities, which is a fancy term for rain gardens, and who manages what and who operates, who maintains, because we've learned that that's a key piece of having successful green infrastructure as a city, of course, is the operation and the maintenance. And that can get neglected if we're not careful. So this kind of helps put the actions, kind of repurposes or repackages them in four different buckets: water quality, water quantity, natural habitats, outreach, and education. So those are kind of four big buckets that we're looking at. And I hope you heard that thunder too. The thunder snow is real here, at least in East Hamilton. So yeah, some of the projects here and some of the initiatives I just mentioned in the previous slides, but you can get an idea of how we're categorizing them as a city. So, even though the Watershed Action Plan just got approved late last year, there still are many things that an individual or a household can do to help support improved water quality and biodiversity in their neighborhoods. In the interest of time, I won't go through all of them here. I'll highlight a few for you. So for road salt, I know we've all been outside some buildings where there is truly a staggering amount of salt that can get applied. As you can imagine, salt runoff from roads and driveways in the winter can enter catch basins and end up in our waterways. As you know, and salt can be toxic to aquatic life, as you likely know. So please use salt responsibly. A little can go a long way. For catch basins, most catch basins lead directly to local waterways, so only rain and snowmelt should enter catch basins. And because typical chlorine levels in your pool and hot tub don't damage your grass, we always try and recommend to residents, depending on the chlorine levels in their pool or hot tubs, to not empty them into a catch basin. There are options too. If you have dechlorination tablets that you can add to your water, that's another option as well. Another key one, ensure your downspouts are being directed onto pervious surfaces such as the lawn or garden. As we know, disconnecting your downspout reduces the amount of stormwater that enters our sewer system, helps reduce some basement flooding, and when we keep stormwater on our property, it can help water quality downstream as well. So, if you're interested in learning more, I have a QR code there on this, I can leave up for a little while to scan on your phone to learn more about the Watershed Action Plan. And it's a cool story map, so you get to learn more about what's a watershed and the different watersheds in Hamilton, and then going into some of the actions that I mentioned in our presentation. My email address is also up there in case you need it or have any other questions. And that's it for me. Thanks very much to HCA for leading the event, and to Jen Baker, everyone else, and thank you for your time tonight.
Great. Thanks so much, Mike. Okay, so next we have Tom Wiercioch. He's the program manager for the Cootes to Escarpment EcoPark system. So he'll be talking about some of the overlaps with biodiversity there. Ready to go, Tom? Looks good. Thank you.
Hi, everyone, and thanks, Kasia. Thanks for hosting and bringing all of us together. So my name's Tom, and I coordinate something called the Cootes to Escarpment EcoPark system. This is a quadrula mussel. It doesn't coordinate anything, but it's also known as a maple leaf mussel. And like many freshwater mussels, they're getting harder and harder to find. This particular one is teetering on the edge of becoming one that's a species at risk. Fortunately, a few RBG staff actually found this specific one at Cootes Paradise Marsh a couple of years ago. And for me, this little guy is slowly becoming the unofficial mascot of the EcoPark system for 3 reasons. Number one, the fact that it's actually here shows that the work we're talking about today, the restoration and stewardship efforts, can work. Even in one of the most urbanized areas in Canada. It's not easy. It requires a lot of collaboration and time, but our work is paying off. This guy's back. Oh. Yep, there it is. He's also tiny. So is the EcoPark system. We have 9 partner agencies who have designated, in total, just under 2,000 hectares of natural spaces, parks, and open lands into the EcoPark system. Our area of focus, which is roughly this red shape, kind of a rectangle on the bottom left, is our focus area. And this is the context of the Greenbelt as a whole. Mussels are also great indicators of a healthy freshwater ecosystem. If we have them, we must be doing something right. And I'd like to think that EcoPark system partners, and especially our neighboring landowners, are doing something right to protect a really, really interesting and special, small but mighty landscape. Partner-owned properties are home to over 60 species at risk. RBG, which is one of our partners, alone is home to a nearly 1/5 of Canada's plant life, where we're talking about a biodiversity hotspot. This kind of confusing map highlight some recent research we've been doing on wildlife connectivity. It shows that there are many paths for animals and plants to take in this area, ecological corridors and passages that can allow animals to move between partner-owned properties, which is really, really important for not only their life cycle, but provides quite a few ecosystem services to our community. I wanted to highlight the area just west of Highway 6. I don't know if you guys can see my mouse, but this little pocket, for folks who might not be familiar with it, it's called Pleasant View. It's a patchwork of habitats, both privately and publicly owned. There's RBG properties there, there's Hamilton Naturalist Club properties there, Conservation Halton as well, and several private landowners. This patchwork is the last connection between Lake Ontario watersheds and the Niagara Escarpment without major industry or development across the whole lake. So that is pretty significant, and I'd like to think this is a really, really special area that we're trying to protect. So what do I actually do as the coordinator of the EcoPark system? My number one task is to build relationships between partner staff and help us work towards our shared vision, which is a landscape that is protected and connected between Cootes Paradise Marsh and the Niagara Escarpment. It's a voluntary alliance. Our 9 nonprofit and government agencies are all landowning. They can decide whether or not they are part of the EcoPark system at any time. They all individually manage protected areas, parks, and natural lands, and have agreed that that vision is a good one, and we want to work towards it. It's a pretty unique model. We don't speak for partners individually. We don't tell partners what to do. We're a gap filling or relationship building exercise. That's our focus. So what are we doing right? Well, one thing is we've been around for almost 15 years. That's something impressive, I think. We've successfully supported a lot of partner habitat restoration work. You can look at some of the wildlife fencing that went in on Cootes Drive last year on RBG property. That was part of our ecological corridor pilot program, which is really, really exciting. I saw someone mention Dundas Turtle Watch in the chat earlier. So hats off to that group and all the work that's happening on Dundas. Land securement. Nearly 120 hectares have been added. Jen earlier mentioned that's one of the best ways of protecting critical habitats, making sure they are permanently protected by donating, purchasing, etc. Being able to add 120 hectares is no small feat. I mentioned research earlier as well. That wildlife corridor mapping is part of a project that started in 2021. It's really meant to help partners understand this area as a whole landscape. Whether it's wildlife corridor mapping work, we've also done ecosystem service studies. We've done reports on issues and opportunities that all partners face. All really, really important stuff. But none of it really matters if we don't have engaged and helpful neighbors. If there's one message I leave this group with, it's that we can't do it alone. And the efforts from our neighbors, private landowners in the area, the community is critically important. We can restore Cootes Paradise Marsh or the Sheila Dunduli property as much as we want, but if there's not support from neighbors, it makes the work much harder along the harbor. So I'm thankful that you guys came out and are learning more about some opportunities. I'm thankful for all the other presenters highlighting some of the on-the-ground work that folks can get involved with. And if you're interested in learning more about the EcoPark system, check out our newsletter. The link and QR code is on the page right now. We are also revamping our website. Over the next month or so, we'll be posting some really interesting and hopefully helpful resources for private landowners who are interested in things like ecological corridors and wildlife barriers and providing safe passages for plants and animals. And there'll be some great newsletter issues coming out about that as well. So stay tuned. And that's the EcoPark system.
Great. Thank you so much, Tom. So next up, and again, just in case folks are signing on that weren't there earlier, we are recording this session, but we have up next Jeff Stock, who is a watershed stewardship technician with the Hamilton Conservation Authority. And he'll be talking about the watershed stewardship program. All right, take it away, Jeff. You are on mute, Jeff. I'm not sure if you see that. And I don't think you're sharing your screen just yet.
Sorry about that. Let's try that again.
Yeah.
Hope that works a little bit better this time. How's that?
Yeah, looks good. Perfect.
Great. Thanks again, Kasia. Yeah, I'm Jeff Stock with the Hamilton Conservation Authority Stewardship Program. For over 30 years, the Hamilton Conservation Authority has supported efforts on private lands through our stewardship program. The goal of this program is to empower property owners with the knowledge, tools, and funding to undertake water quality and habitat improvement projects. So we can provide personalized on-site guidance for water and habitat restoration, connect landowners with funding for conservation projects, encourage landowners to make handshake agreements to protect rural natural areas on the property, foster collaboration between private landowners and neighboring properties. We also host presentations, booths, workshops, and on a variety of stewardship topics. So you'll see us across the watershed, and we celebrate the excellence of landowners who've done a diligent job of protecting significant natural areas with a Watershed Stewardship Award. So through our water quality and habitat improvement program, we offer a diverse array of grants to property owners taking action on their own lands, supporting projects that improve water quality and habitat improvement. You can see our project type and descriptions are quite diverse. So invasive species removals, plantings, watercourse restoration, stream bank stabilization under terrestrial and aquatic enhancements, in-stream barrier mitigation, so improving passage for fish, online pond mitigation, dam removals, stormwater low impact development projects, so projects that help keep stormwater in its place, like via rain gardens and permeable pavement. We also deliver the well decommissioning program. That's a program from the City of Hamilton for unused or abandoned wells on private land. So landowners can access a grant of up to $1,000 per well for up to 2 wells per property, and also some rural agricultural opportunities for farmers. So things like manure storage, improvements to creek crossing, grass waterways, berms, that sort of thing, and of course erosion control, so conservation tillage, cover crops, and riparian buffers. So typically, as you can see, the grant rate and cap comes in at 75% of a project's cost up to $5,000. But I will note that sometimes we can stack our funding with external funders' grant programs. So something to keep in mind. And we have a lot more available that might be on your property, but you're not seeing listed. So by all means, if you're interested in chatting some more with myself or my colleague, Cherish Gamble, who's our other watershed stewardship technician, feel free to reach out, give me a call, give either of us a call, send us an email. And yeah, we'd be happy to chat about your thoughts, ideas on improving habitat and water quality on your property. Yeah, thank you.
Great, Jeff, and thank you so much. So next, there we go. Next, we have Noah Stegman. Noah is a PhD candidate in the Earth and Environmental Science Department at McMaster, and he's the coordinator of natural lands, restoration, conservation. He's also the advisor and past president of the McMaster Outdoor Club. So, Noah, if you are there, you are welcome to share your screen. I know we had a couple of comments about some McMaster property too. I don't know if you wanted to take a look at that after. I think it was from Jim, but just in the webinar chat.
Awesome.
Good. Looks good.
All right. So I'll get right into things. So I am speaking on behalf of the university, but also on the Nature at McMaster program, which is an initiative funded out of the president's office. It's relatively new. It's only just under 10 years old and established in 2016 to better manage the university's natural lands, stewardship plans, and liaisoning with our conservation partners in the area. We do quite a lot and are involved in a lot of different things at the university, from education and stewardship resources for both the university staff and students, as well as the community, as well as in-field restoration activities, land management, monitoring, and trails and recreation. As has been previously mentioned, we are directly involved in a number of different committees with the groups around the table here, and are also directly supporting the Biodiversity Action Plan and the Natural Areas Inventory through on-the-ground university activities. And we have been supporting it through consultation on the Watershed Action Plan as well. Most of the university's area that we're dealing with is what we call the McMaster Conservation Corridor, which I'll show a map in a moment, but it's basically a 435-hectare area from the base of Sherman Falls to Cootes Paradise along the Ancaster Creek corridor. And the university has sort of adopted this space along Ancaster Creek due to a heavy presence here. McMaster University abuts Ancaster Creek through our west campus, and our McMaster Forest Nature Preserve also has Ancaster Creek flowing through it. We've been involved with a number of different private landowners, as well as the Conservation Authority and the city on managing this region. It's a major ecological corridor connecting parts of the Dundas Valley with Cootes Paradise. It's heavily urbanized around it, but the actual core of the corridor has a lot of sensitive species that have managed to hang on. And so we're just kind of looking to increase some of those enhancements through on-the-ground restoration work, collaboration with private landowners to stewardship their lands, and work on both the terrestrial connectors as well as the aquatic connectors in this region. McMaster Forest, most people don't know about it. It's a 127-acre property that's owned and managed by McMaster University off of Lower Lions Club Road. It's where a bulk of on-the-ground restoration work has been happening in the past few years, from about 2012 to present. It's undergone a number of different expansions, and it's a very biodiverse area that the university has been managing. One of our kind of claims to fame is the 11-acre tall grass prairie that's present there. It's the largest in the Hamilton region, and it's host to a number of significant bird and insect species that we have sort of the highest density of in the Hamilton region. So kind of a sensitive and special place. It's just a quick map of it. There's public trails if anyone is interested in visiting. I'm just going to blitz through some of the activities the university's had in the last year that is directly related to the BAP. So this took place at our McMaster Forest property where we maintain the tall grass prairie through burning. So we bring in a contractor every 3 to 5 years to burn the area. That helps replenish the resources in the soil, keep invasive species down, and basically prairie environments are maintained by fire, so it helps keep them healthy. So if anyone is in the lower Ancaster Creek area, you likely got email and physical mail outs from us, and you would have seen it on the news as well. We've been involved with various bank stabilization and kind of braided channel removal projects in association with the Hamilton Naturalist Club and the Hamilton Conservation Authority. Ancaster Creek has a lot of issues with cutting and eroding banks and major debris jams that are causing further erosion concerns. So trying to combat some of those is a high priority. We've dealt with a lot of invasive species removals. This is mainly through our student volunteers, but as well as community volunteers as well at a number of our events over the past year. Quite a lot has been removed by us. As we remove stuff, we try to plant in its place, so there's not just a kind of gaping hole where these invasive species have been removed. So we work with our partners to plant native trees and shrubs and plants. And this is just a snapshot of what we've done this year, but it sort of fluctuates year to year. Last year, we installed a special garden for ground nesting bees. You can look on that more if you read some of the daily news articles, as well as in partnership with some recent grant funding, we've installed lots of bird-friendly decals on some of the residence buildings on campus, and that will be an ongoing project to continue. Our current work area is along Cootes Drive. So a lot of mentions in the comments about Cootes Drive and some of the McMaster ongoing restoration work. I'll briefly go over it, but if there are major questions, you can always reach out via email later on. So we have 2 restoration areas on the go. One is here along Cootes Drive, and you can see it's split up into a number of different areas. This is being done in a phased approach. So as I'll show in the next slide, we completed a vernal pond project kind of in the center there, as well as an indigenous food forest. And then we'll be phasing out the other projects, including some marsh construction work along Spencer Creek. So vernal ponds is the most recent project completed by us. It was quite a large undertaking. 5 ponds were created, dug at the end of 2023 in December and planted in 2024. And we're just kind of seeing the results of that. So far, they're looking quite well. We have active amphibians using it. So there's lots of tadpoles in them, as well as lots of birds around and insect life. And we'll be looking at monitoring this long term. One project that's coming up, we hope to do construction this year, but we are waiting to hear on some ongoing funding, is about a half-hectare marsh that we plan to construct right by the Spencer Creek Bridge, but on the McMaster side. That'll be abutting Spencer Creek and the mouth of Ancaster Creek. This will not be directly connected to the creek, so there'll be no fish coming in and out of this. It's meant as a sort of terrestrial wetland for amphibians and reptiles. And this project is in consultation with Ducks Unlimited and has been supported by the Conservation Authority as well. I know there were a lot of questions about the parking lots and lot M's I saw in the comment. This is a developing project. It's been talked about going back to as far as 2010 at the university, and it has been picking up or slowing down steam depending on the year. Currently, the campus master plan was just passed in the end of 2023 that is committed to the removal of 800 parking spots from parking lot M which is that large parking lot beneath where it says Reach 2. There's no timeline associated with that. However, the goal is to do it as soon as possible and as soon as funding allows and parking reallocation allows. So as parking is removed from Lot M, we're looking at finding it elsewhere on campus through structured parking as funding for that allows. We are currently in the process of having consultants do a study of Ancaster Creek from Osler to Spencer, and that is to allow for a scientific plan to lay out the restoration of parking lot M when funding becomes available for that project. So it is ongoing. And this is just mentioning some of the ongoing work of us. So the campus master plan, McMaster's updated sustainability strategy, our updated sustainability building design policy, which includes our bird-friendly windows, our net zero carbon roadmap, and our B Campus certification are all ways the university is committed to the BAP, as well as the ongoing work of the Nature and McMaster program, which is all the other things that I mentioned. And if there are any questions, feel free to email myself or directly through Nature McMaster, and we'll be able to get back to you. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Noah. We have one more speaker tonight, and that speaker is Alexia the Poupada, and she is the Green Infrastructure Program Coordinator with Green Venture, and she'll be talking about their Rain Ready Hamilton program. So if you're ready to go, Alexia, you can share your screen.
Awesome, thank you. All right, can we see my screen?
Yes, right now it's the whole internet. Oh, there we go. It's full screen now. You're all set. Thank you.
Okay, awesome, thank you. All right, well, my name is Alexia da Poupada. I am the Green Infrastructure Program Coordinator at Green Venture, and I'm here to talk to you. Oh, sorry, I don't have my video on. That'd make it a little easier. There we go. I'm here to talk to you guys about Rain Ready Hamilton, which is a new rebate that we are implementing in the city. So it will be administered by us, Green Venture, and this program is funded by the city of Hamilton. And you can see in the asterisk just below there, it says approved by council, still in development with the city of Hamilton. I am very pleased to say that today we are officially a go, and the applications will be opening for this rebate April 22nd, which is Earth Day. So a little bit about Green Venture, who we are and what we do. Green Venture's mission is to inspire and equip Hamilton residents to take individual and collective action in three major ways: by preserving our natural environment, reducing greenhouse gas emissions, and building a community resilient to climate change. Green Venture is an environmental education organization that has been around. This is actually our 30th year that we are celebrating. And over the last 10 years, we have started to shift a bit of more of a focus into green infrastructure programming. So this includes demonstration projects, a grant-funded rebate program, which is what I'm talking about today, and deep-pave programs in the public spaces. If anyone as ever takes a stroll along Ottawa Street at Ottawa and Cannon, we have a really nice large demonstration site at Laidlaw United Church. And if you ever find yourself along Barton in the BIA area, so between Sherman and East Street, we have 7 pollinator gardens or rain gardens that we have basically taken up impervious areas, so areas that were once covered with concrete or asphalt, lifted that up and then planted native plants and pollinator-friendly plants. So a little bit about the new Rain Ready program. At one point, we did offer a rebate, but this is kind of a revamped version of it. So this program is broken down into 2 major components. So the first one is education and outreach. And this is for homeowners, industry professionals, and public at large. And what's a little bit different from what we have done in the past is when you applied for this program, we would provide education for people who were interested in the program. But now with this program, we're hoping that we can provide education about low impact development, stormwater management, and all of that to everyone who lives in Hamilton. And we've even created some webinars and events that are tailored specifically towards industry professionals so that they can learn about low impact development and how they can offer these services to people in Hamilton. And then the second component of this rebate is reimbursement for installation of the approved LID projects. So this rebate program is broken up into two tiers. The first tier is sitting at $1,500 for smaller LID projects. And then the second tier is up to $5,000. And those are for larger projects, permeable paved driveways, or very complex LID systems. So I'm saying LID a lot. A lot of us have been talking about low impact development, but just to touch base on what it is. So low impact development is an approach to land development that mimics the natural movement of water in order to manage stormwater close to where it falls. LID implemented at the lot level includes small, simple design techniques and landscape features that filter, infiltrate, store, evaporate, and detain rainwater and runoff. So the way I always remember it is just managing water where it falls. A few examples of some low impact designs. So there's rain gardens, which we've all touched base on a bit today, rainwater collection and storage systems, so rain harvesting, rain barrels, that kind of stuff, bioswales and dry swales, soakaway pits, infiltration trenches, enhanced grass swales, perforated pipe systems, permeable paving, and green roofs. So what does this program address? So the first thing that it addresses, these are kind of tied together, but I'm kind of breaking them up a little bit here. So it addresses the historical management of stormwater. So originally, the way we managed stormwater was get it in the drains, get it away from the infrastructure. And another thing to note was any city that was built before the 1940s does have a combined sewer system. So Hamilton is one of those cities, and I believe Mike touched on it about the combined sewer system and how we've added combined sewer overflow tanks. And something to think about is as we start to experience these more extreme events, there's a very large increased pressure on these systems. So what we're hoping to achieve by helping people implement LID systems projects onto their property is we are lowering the amount of volume of water that is entering these systems at during these extreme storm events and reducing the chances of opening up those CSO tanks or just in general filtering the water through natural ways instead of having to send it off to the treatment plant. So just a few LID examples to show you guys a few things that are going to be approved projects. On the left here, we've got a nice rain garden that's quite filled in. In the middle here, we have a rain garden. We're looking at it from the downspout. And as you can see, this little drain up here in the front, that's actually the entrance to a dry well. So in areas that get a lot of water, but they don't have a lot of space to put in a rain garden, for example, you could put something like a dry well under your rain garden, which also captures water and releases it back into the soil. And then on the right here, we have a rain harvesting system, some rain barrels. It says trash can rain barrels. So this is a little bit of a more DIY, but I will say that there are much nicer rain barrels out there. And also the city of Hamilton has a rain barrel sale at the end of April, which you can also get them there. A few more examples. We have a dry creek swale here, which is not dry right now, but it's doing its job. It's slowing down and holding that water, giving it time to infiltrate back into the soil. In the middle here, we've got a little funky driveway. So these are permeable pavers on the sides here, which are meant to hold the load of a car. And then anywhere where you're seeing vegetation, that's actually a native ground cover that they've thrown in there. And the idea was to make sure that the whole driveway was permeable, but it's just a little more cost effective, only adding those pavers where the extra weight's going to be held. And then lastly, on the right here, you're seeing, which doesn't look like it, but this is a green roof, which is one thing I will say, unless you are building a new building or you have talked to an architect, I would not recommend looking at green roofs because most houses do not have the load-bearing capacity for green roofs. They're quite heavy when they hold on to water and all that plant matter. So if you are interested in a green roof, I strongly, strongly, strongly suggest talking to an architect. So what are the benefits for this program for homeowners? So number one, on-site stormwater management and reducing local flooding. Like I said, the whole idea is during these extreme weather events, we're hoping that we can slow down that water, soak it up on our property so that we're not adding stress to the stormwater system that we currently have. And then second, yard beautification, biodiversity, which is the topic of today, and reducing overall water consumption. So, and who can apply? So any residential property owner in Hamilton or a tenant with permission. So if there is a building that you live in on a property that can have something done, you can apply. The only thing, like we said, is just make sure that you are checking with the landowner or the landlord if it is a property you do not own. And then lastly, we do have a prioritization for combined sewer, areas that are over combined sewer systems and areas that are high impermeable surface areas. So downtown core is a good example. It's like the concrete jungle. So we're trying to get some more permeable areas in there. So the steps for this rebate, first things first, there is a requirement for our rebate to attend one of our educational sessions or our webinars. We have already passed the 3 webinars. They are all recorded. Anything that has to do with low impact development, stormwater management, rain gardens, design, everything is recorded. So this is, even though this is a requirement and it's passed, we could always email this to you. And once it's been emailed and you've watched it, we just add you to the list. Once you have hit that requirement, you can apply online. You apply online, you submit you get your calculations, your design, you put that all in your application, submit it to us. Then either myself or my coworker, Jess, who is the program lead for this program, we will review your application. If it is accepted, there is an optional coaching visit. So if you are feeling confident, you're with a contractor and you don't feel like there's anything that needs to be answered, this is an optional step. We do not need to come out and talk to you, but if you are unsure, we can either do a virtual or an in-person consultation. Once that happens and everyone's feeling confident with their next steps, installation can happen. Once installation is done, you could submit your expenses. So you keep all your receipts, everything, so we know where all the money went. Keep that, submit that to us. And then lastly, you get your rain check. It is mailed to you via mail. I think, I'm not entirely sure. I think we have 2 time frames in which we will be mailing out checks. So depending on how quickly you get your project done, you can get it at one point, and then if not, it'll be later in the fall. And yeah, that is my quick little presentation about our rain rebate. A few things I want to hit here. Visit our website if you are curious about this at all. It is a very thorough webpage that we've got on there. We've got blogs that are some good resources. We've got supporting documents, FAQs, anything you want to know about this program. It does say attend our webinars. Like I said, they are in the past at this point, but if you are looking for these webinars because you want to get that requirement under your belt, please email us at rainready@greenventure.ca. We will send you that webinar. And lastly, attend our events. There is a potential for at least 2 more events for April, and I can guarantee there will be events going out all throughout the year. So if you're interested in low impact development, rain gardens, design, any of that, check our website out, check our events out, email us if you have questions. And yeah, that's my presentation. Thank you guys for listening.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Alexia.
No worries.
And yeah, great. And thank you so much to all the other panelists, all the other folks that did their talks, and as well to the attendees, and especially those 37 of you that made it all the way to the end here. Thank you so much for your participation. There's been lots of great discussion in the chat, lots of great questions. So I mean, we're really grateful that you were available tonight to come and listen to us tell you about some of the different projects that we're working on to help support biodiversity. And I hope you took maybe something away from it that you're able to implement in your life too, as you move forward. So thank you so much, everyone. And looks like we're done a little bit early, so that's probably good for a lot of us. And yeah, hope you have a great